Hey, what's up guys? This is my idea of the Terraria fast track playthrough. So, there's a couple of different ways to play Terraria. This is getting you all the way to the PostMage and how to get it's a boss by boss progression on weapons. Accessories will not be included here. I'm not the greatest person to come to for accessories because I don't find them to be super important, but I might be able to go over that later. Anyway, now we'll get into the first one. So, this is pre-Eye of Cthulhu, so it's before you fight your first boss. And the weapons you might want is something like a or even wood bow and a musket, with the ammunition of frostburn arrows and musket balls, and also some even wood armor, or the same thing, only crimson, with musket balls and an undertaker. So it's rather simple to figure out here. The only thing is, they're different biomes, and the musket does more damage, but the undertaker's a little faster. The bow does more damage, but this bow's, I don't think, faster. I think crimson is just a better biome in my opinion. And then these two, I think Shadewood gives a little more defense. But that doesn't really matter that much. I think Crimson's a little better later on for Ichor and different things. But yeah, once you beat Eye of Cthulhu, you'll be able to get a small upgrade in Post-Brand of Cthulhu or Eat of Worlds. So you have a couple more upgrades now, like a Tendon or a Demon, Demon Wood Bow. That's what it's called. And then you stick with your musket and Undertaker with musket balls, but you can also add Jester's arrows now. Probably a little more useful. Now, pre-hard mode boss progression, you'll notice isn't going to be that big. It's not going to be very big details. You're going to get a little more armor, like the Crimson armor and the Demon armor, but there's nothing too much more. It's rather simple. Next is pre-Wall of Flesh. You'll notice a little more change this time. This is more of a ranger playthrough at first, but I actually like to switch to Mage later on. Anyway, so you'll have a Molten Fury, rather good for Wall of Flesh, I'd say. With Jester's Arrows, also rather good. Because they have high velocity and they can take down Wall of Flesh rather quickly. I didn't include Skeletron on this list because there's really no different change in boss progression, in my opinion. Shadow Chests. I don't like to get them. I find them not to be useful. Molten Armor, not necessary again. Maybe if I make like a safer track playthrough, or make shift check video, I might add something like that in there, but this one's not about that. I added a melee weapon, even though this is ranged. You might want to get one of these. Just might be a little helpful. So this is Blood Butcher. If you really want to get Molten Great Sword or something, you can, but it's not really necessary. Next we find, right into hard mode, you'll find there's a big jump into things. So you'll break your altars and you'll get pretty much standard items. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you're brand new to the game. I would recommend doing a safer playthrough. This, it's rather similar to a normal playthrough, only I'm going to be skipping quite a few things that most players do. So, Cobalt and Platinum are your most important, and then your Adamantite and Titanium. Doesn't really matter which one you get, but Mithril and Orichalcum don't matter in this playthrough. But it doesn't really matter which one you get. I find them to be relatively both the same. You can buy a shotgun if you really want. I don't think it would make much of a difference. Just wait till Mega Shark. And then a cutlass if you're lucky enough to get a pirate invasion before you fight Destroyer. It'll be pretty nice. Next, you'll have Ichor arrows and Holy arrows. A little bit of a step up from your previous ammunition for arrows. And then you'll have your Ichor bullets and crystal bullets. Good. And a very important rule is I would like to keep, when you're a ranged class, keep both, at least one archer item or one bow in your inventory and have Ichor arrows at all times. Maybe a couple holy arrows just in case. Hit the enemy with Ichor and then you can hit him with crystal bullets for more damage. Again, palladium armor and cobalt armor. You should be able to get by all the mech bosses with cobalt armor. If you're starting to struggle, go ahead and fish for crates to get this, or if you're on a palladium world, go ahead and go get that. But I would recommend a full set of whatever class you're playing. Pre-Skeletron Prime, you'll notice this page is a little bigger because there's a lot of step-ups. So in the PreDestroyer battle, you might notice that I didn't put any wings on the armor plate, because you don't need wings, I just figured out. It's relatively easy to beat the boss. For Prime, you also do not need any wings. It's possible to beat the boss without them, and I found it to be rather easy. So you might want a hollowed repeater for a little step up. Now that you have some hollowed bars, you'll be able to craft the Mega Shark. Definitely a must-have. That'll help you get through the boss, and just the cutlass still. Because this isn't just for defeating bosses, even though that's the main focus of this, kind of. But I also kind of want to adapt to the other aspects of the game. Again, your ammunition has not changed and everything's the same, but if you're struggling with palladium armor or cobalt armor, you can step up to hollow, just farm destroyers for a little while. And I found something to be a little helpful if he were to catch you by surprise and you weren't ready, but you had maybe a meteor staff or a nice bow with some holy arrows, you might be able to take him on if you have one of these horse mounts. I didn't include the blessed apple on this map, but you could use it if you wanted to. Relatively the same as these two. A little better, but you don't need to jump a whole lot, so it's really not necessary. Next, we'll move on to PrePlantera or Post-Twins. I said PrePlantera because Post-Twins didn't seem really necessary. I thought I'd just kill two birds with one stone. Anyway, so relatively the same as Skeleton Prime, only I removed Cobalt and Palladium because you really shouldn't be using those at this point. It's possible, but probably shouldn't. And then you can use the horse mounts if you want. I don't recommend them for Plantera. All you need for Plantera is a semi-large arena that you can go around in circles with a couple layers of platforms. I wouldn't recommend using torches, and instead light your arena up with campfire, because if you put too many torches in, you could get torch god update, the whole thing. Unless you want that, then bonus for you, you'll get a Plantera arena, and you'll get a torch god arena. Next, another big step up is post golem. So now we have a couple of things to do. Finally, some options. So you want to farm Golem for a while. If I was lucky enough to get the Stinger on my first try, and I was able to take him down rather easily, you can get this and use holy arrows, maybe just a fire powering bow. Never make the glorified shot bow. I found that hollowed repeater got buffed so much that glorified repeater does lacking 20 damage, and the more arrows just don't help. The Stinger, if you get it first try, you'll be able to take down golems relatively easily. If you run out of Stinger bolts, head over to the arms dealer, buy some more. Possess Hatchet, definitely a nice weapon to have, but not necessary for your class at this point. And that Heat Ray, I got a lot of these. You probably will too. They're it feels like they're a common drop, even though every drop is the same. But you know, you're probably not going to be using it a whole lot. Your ammunition still hasn't changed. Only now you have to add Stinger bolts if you get the Stinger. You can also farm for Picksaw, but this includes more weapons, and I didn't really feel it was necessary to put it in. Your bullets and arrows are the same. Again, you can get by with hollowed armor. And you should buy some steampunk wings at this point. I didn't include most of the hard mode dungeon items until now, where you finally switch over to mage class. Right before pre-lunatic cultist, you'll want to get a couple of different items. First, car key is definitely a must. You'll want to get that. I found the Spectre Staff to be relatively useful during all this. Possessed Hatchet should be on here. I forgot to put it on. Laser Machine Gun is relatively helpful as well. Extremely helpful for cultists, and also Martian Saucers to help you get other items. If you want an Influx Waiver, go ahead and grab it. I found it wasn't necessary. Staff of Earth, definitely not a must-have, but also a nice weapon to get, because it can do high damage against single attacks. Next, your ammunition is now moved over to mana, so you'll need a high supply of actually greater mana potions, I recommend. But this picture is a normal mana potion, and then a mana flower, so you don't have to worry about clicking your mana refill button. Again, your UFO mount is going to be extremely helpful, and some steampunk wings. I recommend going both the Spectre Mask and the Spectre Hood. Both will be very helpful. Don't worry about the Magnet Sphere. Not really a helpful weapon in my opinion. It'll be a little clunky and it'll be lacking in damage anyway. The reason I decided to switch over to Mage class at this point is I find that range starts to lack a little bit of damage at this point. And I think Mage is just a little bit better of a class, especially if you're playing 2-player, which I recently did. I completed my first 1.4 playthrough, and I found it was really helpful, because if your friend is playing Melee, or maybe another class like Range or something, but Melee is generally tanky, and they pair well with Mage. Mage can fly high above, out of Moonlord's target range. You can switch to their hood if they are unaffected by Moonbite, and hit down. I recently figured out that the healing from the Spectre Hood actually heals whichever player is on low health. So if you run down there with Nebula Blaze or something and attack Moonlord a lot without Moonbite, you'll be able to heal both yourself and your friend, and be able to stay alive for a relatively long time without wasting any health potions and waiting for that cooldown. Next, your PostBoonLord. I didn't think about putting this on because it was more of a get to Moonlord guide, but I don't know, I thought I'd put it on here anyway. Your normal items like Nebula Blaze, Arcanum, Last Prism, Lunar Flare. Same type of thing with Mana Flower, Car Key, Solar Flare Wings, and Nebula Armor. Pretty self-explanatory. General endgame items. That's pretty much it. If you followed this guide, it's pretty helpful in my opinion. I just played the game like I thought I would, and I found this to be rather helpful. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend playing with a friend. make sure your friend has a good connection and maybe a good understanding of the game before you try this type of playthrough, because again, it is a little bit faster. You will be very overwhelmed in hard mode, especially. You'll start to get a little overwhelmed, start to die a lot, so you'll have to be a little quick to get Ichor. Be sure to get a large amount of Ichor. You'll need it for a long time, as you found. It was the main currency for most of these. But yeah, pre-hard mode's generally a pretty easy playthrough. Again, with Golem. He's a rather easy boss as well. Nice to farm because he drops a lot of good items, but not necessarily a hard boss. Again, with Cultist, pretty much a pushover, but also everybody knows that. But, you know, he can do a high damage sometimes, so make sure you are to maybe get some warning effects on your accessories, because you don't want to ignore accessories completely. They do give, like, good items. I just don't necessarily care what the accessory is unless it's the Mana Flower. Definitely a must-have for mages. Celestial Shell can be good. I find it not to be necessary. I was just thinking about a good idea for endgame. All the emblems. That would be a nice high form of damage. You could get a Vendor Emblem, Destroyer Emblem, whatever class emblem you need. And then you could get either like a Sunstone or a Moonstone or Celestial Shell. Both would help you out. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I find this to be a very fun class. Ranger is definitely strong at the beginning of the game, while Mage is not, but there seems to be definitely a switch over between the two. The auto-aiming attacks at the Nebula Blaze, extremely helpful, and Mage class would not be doable without it. And then the armor, like Spectre armor is definitely a must-have for Mage class. The Moonlord battle is not doable without it. Moonlord battle, I actually don't get to see a lot of it. And I must say, the Mage class does start to dip in this place at Moonlord. I did have a little bit of trouble. But if your friend can play melee rather well, then you'll have a good time. Your friend can focus on the hands while you try to focus on the top eye. You have to come in and save him. You're not focusing on damage a lot. If you're sloppy, if you get hit by Moonbite twice and your friend doesn't have a healing potion and manages to die, go ahead and drop below Moonlord, maybe under like your arena or something, and try and hit the core. If the core is open. If the core is not open, try staying a little safer. Don't focus on the boss itself, but focus on every projectile coming towards you. Make sure you try and miss those, especially if you're low health. Wait for your friend to respawn, get back into your usual rhythm, everybody heals, and then get back into normal. If the core is open and your friend dies, you can try to drop below, hit the core with Nebula Blaze as you're running away. Be sure to go diagonal with the UFO mount, makes for a lot better turns and speed. That's pretty much it for everything. Definitely melee and mage are pretty good pairs for this type of playthrough. And it was a lot of fun. It only took me about a week to complete the whole game with a friend. And it was relatively easy, so definitely give it a try. If you have a friend nearby, go ahead and try it out. It's a lot of fun. And give the strategy a try. I'll see you next time. I'm going to start uploading again, I think, if you're a subscriber. Thanks. If you're not, go ahead and click that button and become a subscriber. I promise you will not be missing out on good content. See ya.